Today's one of the most critical parts of the entire crabbing season. We are painting crab pots. It means every single pot behind me needs dipped. And this dip tank full of paint slid up this rail and then stacked on these tarps that I haven't put out yet because I'm way behind. Busted my butt trying to get this freaking crab stand boat done lately. I have not had time to do pretty much all the things I should have done already. There's about 1,400 crab pots behind me. Every one of them needs done ASAP. I'm running out of days. It's already crabbing season, but I haven't set yet because there's no crabs up here yet to catch. Crabs are migratory. They're also still kind of buried up in the mud. But I would like to be ready for the moment they do turn on. It's been the rainiest spring we've had in a really long time. All the rain and the cold weather we've had, it's not ideal for crabs. And it's also not ideal for working outside and getting ready to crab. So I'm switching paints this year, and this is the paint from last year. And when it sits for that long, it just gets all nasty and congeals and separates, and it smells really bad. But since I'm switching paints, we need to get rid of this paint. You gotta dip the paint out of here and put it into that barrel. And by we, I mean AJ. AJ, I saved that job for you because I really want to do it myself, but I knew you were really gonna want to do it, so. Yeah. Oh, yes. Deli shoes. I think my wife brought me everything I forgot. I can't even find her in this maze of junk. I can hear her. Hey, where are you? Oh, there you are. Couldn't find you.
How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Thank you so much. Oh, wow, a cup of coffee. Thank you. Appreciate it. We got all the tarps set up. We overlay them like shingles so that the paint isn't going to run underneath of them. We also have this reclaim system where that table's on an angle, and we're always like 3 or 4 pots behind, so the paint is dripping off of the pots and running down the table and back into here. And that's 1, to save paint. And that is number 2, and most importantly, so we're not getting it everywhere, to keep the mess to an absolute minimum. I don't even use anti-fouling paint. A lot of guys use anti-fouling paint. It's so expensive, and I don't think it holds up near as well. I'm just using barn paint now, just regular latex paint, which is what a lot of guys are switching to. The last 9 years of my crabbing career, I've painted my pots the same color green for the most part, partially because there's nobody else with green pots like this around here, so I know if I see one, it's definitely not theirs. And number 2, I always had cheap green paint. But this year, since I'm switching the paint to a different kind, the only color I could get was black. Actually, they asked me if I wanted black or white, and I thought, I don't want white. It would just be weird. I don't know. Black just seems like a better idea. But then I thought I could have just got the white and then colored it green, idiot. My 10th year crabbing is the first year I'll have black paint. AJ's about to get it all over everything. Right, AJ? Chris is a pro. Chris is the one that helped me zinc all these pots. He pretty much did the whole rig. It's impressive, honestly. He's CJ's main guy, and this ain't nothing new for him. He's an old hat at this.
Stop it, baby.
Make sure you get as much paint all over everything as you possibly can.
That thing too, right?
In the truck, yep. I want that cap to match the truck by the end of the day. All right, 1 bucket in. Many more to go. All right, AJ, you want to go grab some more buckets from the pallet? I didn't think you did. Not so much a question. So the area I live is not your average waterman neighborhood, I guess you could say. A lot of watermen live on what's called the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and it's more farmland and rural and a lot more space. But here in Pasadena, where I live, space is an absolute premium, and we don't have much of it, and the stuff we do is highly coveted. That makes for some unique situations, especially when it comes to things that take up the square footage of 2 houses, like all these crab pots, because now we have to move all these crab pots, because once they get painted, they have to get stacked. So the first thing I'm gonna do is pull the truck around with the trailer on it, and I'm gonna put the trailer right here, and we're gonna paint the first load of crab pots and stack them right onto the trailer. I think we can fit 168 crab pots on the trailer. That's gonna save us a lot of premium square footage when it comes to tarp space. Dude, little history lesson on this paint table right here. This was CJ's paint table when he started crabbing. And this thing was so beat that he threw it away. And you know CJ, Chris, he don't throw anything away. Yeah.
So it's what, at least 20 years old?
Oh yeah, at least 20 years old. And I've had it for 10 years, because I've had it my whole crabbing career, and I've scabbed it back together. But the only thing holding this thing together is all the hundreds of layers of paint. There's literally like no wood left. It's all paint. That thing's an antique. My kids are gonna be painting crab pots with that thing. For efficiency's sake, usually have one guy that's just dipping, one guy that's moving pots to the guy dipping, and then another guy that's just grabbing the pots off the end and stacking them wherever they gotta go. A lot of times we'll rotate out because one gives you an arm workout, the other one gives you a leg workout, the other one kind of the resting position. I have this big giant crab pot trailer that I built out of a mobile home frame that I got maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Decked it with plywood, and then last year I built this giant 2x4 cage on it so we can stack the crab pots a little higher. Little sketchy, but it works really well. I only have to go like 2 miles up the street and back, so it never leaves literally the neighborhood. Getting to see some age here, but it's, you know, at the time, it was one of my nicer pieces of work. The problem is, besides the plywood peeling up, the wheel bearing is completely shot, and it honestly looks like this wheel may actually come completely off. It's not supposed to look like that. These boys are already gotten started. Over here yapping away on the phone. They're getting after it. I'm bummed I'm about to ruin my nice boots by getting them covered in black paint, but that's all right. Hey, if you fall, you're fired before you hit the floor.
Okay. Fired on the way down.
That's right. The benefit of painting them wet and putting them right on the trailer is that I've never had to paint my trailer deck. It always just gets an extra coat every year. That's like adding months onto its life. The trailer, the leaning tower crab pots is done, so that's 168 down, 1/9 of the way through them. In the beginning, before I had a crew and everything, I used to do all the zinking, all the painting, everything all myself because I was too stubborn and broke to ask for help. I am glad I didn't do that anymore. I think the last time I painted my whole rig by myself, I had like 700 pots. Now I have twice that. Glad I ain't got to do it. My theory is just hire a bunch of guys and get it done in 1 or 2 days. AJ claims he's gonna take his slickers off.
You stay wet.
Those were green an hour ago. Do what you want, buddy. It's free country, but
I recommend against it.
the paint drips off the pots here and then runs down this board and then drips right back down into the reclaim system here.
Ingenuity at its finest.
That's right. I think I'm gonna have more freckles than when I started the day with. I do not blame these guys for getting out of crabbing this year. And then the guys that are getting out of charter fishing, I mean, if those charter fishing boats, if they can't charter fish no more, who's gonna buy all those boats? They're not cheap. It's not like your average crabber can't afford one. You know, they want $250,000, $500,000 for their boats. They're gonna have to either sell them really cheap or sell them out of state or something. And how many of them guys are actually gonna uproot their family to chase fish? I mean, come on now.
I don't think it's happening.
Well, I ain't getting a job at the port, that's for sure. Rockfish guys are really in trouble though. I have a bad feeling that in the next couple years, it's probably gonna shut down commercial. Or they're gonna try their hardest, gonna open it to rec, because the state wants rec, because it gets tourism dollars, people buying license coming from out of state. You'd think the amount of money that the commercial guys bring and taxes and, you know, tourism for charter and whatever else would make up for it. But
They definitely spend a couple dollars to make a couple dollars.
oh yeah, maybe I'll get lucky and find a guy looking to get out and I can take a Sawzall to his beautiful 46 Markley and turn it into a crab boat.
46 Markley.
Oh my God, nothing would make me happier to take a freaking chainsaw to a beautiful charter fishing boat and turn it into a crab killing machine. That'd be awesome.
Promise you call me. What are you gonna do with it?
They'd be crying.
Nothing. Check sign.
I don't even want to tell you. Putting a dent in them, slowly but surely. All right, painting update. We are rolling through them. Still quite a few to go, but we are filling the tarps up. They look good actually in black, I think. It's weird not seeing them in green, but they look pretty good. Pretty slick. Here's my thought on painting crab pots. It's actually kind of satisfying to do for the first like 100 pots. And then after that, it's not quite as fun. Been there, done that. But I also like the fact that every one you dip, you're closer to being done with the job. Sounds dumb, but a lot of jobs that need to be done in the spring that are time, labor, and money intensive. So once this is done, I feel like 100 times better. Ready to go at the drop of a hat. As soon as the crabs hit, we can set. Well, the pots are ready at least, which is huge. Painting in black feels really weird. Like green doesn't feel like you're doing something wrong, but black, Feels like you're in the middle of a massive oil spill or something. You just feel like you're doing something wrong. But they do look good. I'm really hoping this paint works because it's a lot more expensive than the other stuff. The amount of relief that painting these pots is bringing me right now is unexplainable because I have so much to do. Like literally the wheel bearing on the trailer is bad. The boat needs new cables. The roof needs put on. The rack needs trimmed down or put on. The winder needs fixed. There's like 100 things. I need to get electric run to like 5 different places. This was majorly stressing me out. I'm glad that we can finally wrap this up. And I'll be honest, the thing I'm most excited about is having all these buckets. Buckets are a hot commodity when you're a commercial fisherman. Perfect. He'll never miss it. Did pour down rain today, but I think the paint had a chance to set up. And the reason some of these are not painted is because this wire is vinyl coated, which means the wire's like dipped in a plastic coating, makes it so you don't have to paint the pots. The reason they're not all like that is because I don't really like vinyl coated pots that much. I have a couple, but not very many. I mean, they're gonna call me old school. I like a steel trap painted. I think it catches better. A lot of guys like vinyls. A lot of guys are switching to vinyls, and I don't blame them because the price of everything is going sky high. And when you pay almost 54 bucks for a crab pot, you also gotta replace the thing, and it's not great. Vinyl pots last 2-3 times as long as a steel pot. But one of the other very important things we have to do before the season is build more hawks. A hawk is a buoy with a flag on it, essentially. Like these ones right here, and this marks the end of a crab pot row. These are actually novelty hawks that I have. These are my hawks, but I saved them because one of the other crabbers wrote "Go back to China" on it, and I just keep it as a reminder in my collection that screw them. And if they want you to go away, lay twice as much gear where they don't want you to be. I also have this other one. This is one of my early ones. It says, "You're not welcome here. Go the F home." And I earned those. I don't want to put those in a service. Those are going on the wall. Every time I see these, it reminds me to grind harder. And they wouldn't be saying stuff like this if they didn't feel threatened by you. Keep that in mind. Don't let anybody bully you into not doing what you're hell-bent on doing anyway. I actually have the full collection. I have it in white as well. It's getting a little old, but that's why I'm keeping them inside. It's gonna be worth something someday. Anyways, a hawk is the buoy that we use to mark each end of our underwater lines. If you see one of these out in the water, just know that that is connected to an underwater long line of crab pots. So please don't run these over. They're very expensive to build and time consuming. It's got a clip that clips to your main line. It's got a weight, and then it's got a buoy with your number burned into it, and then it has a flag. My flags are made out of boat shrink wrap because there's always plenty of that floating around. They tend to get run over all the time, and then they'll end up looking like this. The bottom's knocked off, the flag's knocked off, and they end up looking a little sad. I do have a couple things I'm gonna try in my new rendition of a hawk. They've evolved over the years as I've seen the issues that they face and their biggest threats, which are recreational boaters typically. I'm gonna try a little trick that I learned from some guys that I actually bought the Weebo from that are ground fishermen up in New Jersey. I honestly kind of love crab floats. They're sort of like the truest form of folk art because they were built out of necessity for a single purpose, but they're kind of made out of whatever was available at the time. And then people kind of put their own touch on it because they had to. They have to set them apart from other people's, but it also gave people an opportunity to kind of like, I don't know how to really explain it, but it's interesting. It's interesting to see them. And they're pretty. They're kind of nostalgic. My hawks are basically built to be very visible and as cheaply built as possible, and they can still hold up to whatever they got to. Certainly wouldn't say making hawks is like an exact science, but definitely better ways to do it that I've found. And one of those ways is to cut all the PVC at one time. It's really complicated because you're gonna take 10-foot pieces and make them into 5-foot pieces. You wanna make sure that you really nail that step. Very complicated as well. I honestly don't know how I've made it this long being this dreadfully intelligent. Just like that. More hawks for people to run over. If you consider the time in the summer, 8.5 hours a day we can haul gear. The amount of time I spend fishing gear either from the other end or dragging a hook around trying to find my broken line, compared to the extra time it's gonna take on top of making a regular hawk, I think I'll be ahead. Paddle bit seems to be working better.
Want to try this sharper?
Sure.
Ooh, that didn't do it.
God dang. See, that's the problem. I bought all this PVC pipe at Home Depot. It's like it sat outside or something for a year. It's junk. It just keeps splitting out. Bought it brand new today. $5 a stick. Absolute junk.
Depot's not gonna sponsor you.
That's all right. I don't need them anyway. I guess the answer is a very dull paddle bit.
June, you were a little bit like, what am I doing?
Yeah, no, you're right.
And part of your physical and emotional exhaustion had to do with just so many life changes at once.
Yeah,
Like
it was.
buying a house, getting married.
Yeah, that was very stressful.
There's a chance that it'll be somewhat better.
But it's not going to solve the problem.
No, it's not going to solve
There is still an issue, and the issue is.
The issue is there's only so many hours in a day. I have experienced the same thing throughout my life where in order to get something done right, you got to do it yourself. At least you feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
To a certain extent it's true, but I also think in business it's a liability not to figure out how to hire somebody to make money off of it.
You know, I see guys like, they just keep it small, keep it all. But I've blown past that point, which was a decision of my own, which I didn't understand the implications of when I was making those decisions. Not that I would have made a difference. I'm the kind of guy that wants to, do it 110%.
Right. You
But-
don't have that in you anyway.
That's exactly what I tell myself every day, and that's how I get myself into these positions where I'm freaking essentially a dead man walking. I look myself in the mirror and say, you can't do that. And then I have to do it, and then I end up almost dead.
Well,
Toxic trait.
It's not in you to keep it small, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
But you can't keep going way past it. You got house payments.
Oh, yeah. I have scaled my entire everything by,
business growth.
yeah. I'm not keeping it small or keeping it all at this point.
You have a bank that owns your house. You have your wife who owns your house.
Who owns my ass? The
That's
cost of
not-
crabbing right there.
It's not possible to turn on the John Denver and make them so simplify.
No. I'm past the point of just being a humble fisherman, for better or for worse.
I mean, some of it you didn't really ask for, but you certainly didn't turn it down.
A lot of it, yeah, I guess.
Some of it,
I just didn't understand. To
some of
me,
it you fell into.
yeah, like what?
Well, to the 3 million TikTok followers was not something that you ever said, I'm going to go after.
No, I said, I'm tired of getting screwed on selling crabs. I need to figure out a way to make more money with the crabs I can catch.
I don't think you have said to yourself, I'm going to be a TikTok.
To me, I've always just been doing the next logical step. Holding your own crabbing. Now you got to figure out how to get more money for your crab. Essentially advertise for free. And then that turned into change my entire life. So I'm thinking the exact same things where I'm like, all right, what's the next step? What can I do? And then I guess you just are presented with new problems that you're just constantly trying to find solutions for. Wild. Can't talk and chew bubblegum, messing up my feng shui. Just doing the same exact motion like some kind of Asian sweatshop worker. Started talking and then did the last step first.
It looks like you're gearing up to fish the full rig.
That's my plan.
For a while you were thinking of fishing only half a rig.
I don't know. At least until I get some other connections to buy crabs or something, I'm gonna have to fish the full rig, I guess. I just don't know how the hell I'm gonna do it. I truly don't, because I have been 100% committed to YouTube for the past 6 months, a full-time job. I feel like I have to be 100% committed to it to make it perform at the level it is right now. That's also how I felt about crabbing. For the whole time of being in crabbing, I've been 100% committed to crabbing. I'm always taking the harder option if it was the better option.
I have a little bit of a problem because you were fried August to October last year.
Yeah, I hit a wall.
From the 1st of August to the 15th of October, you were no good. You were not happy. Had no more energy left in your body.
Yeah, I was burnt out. Nothing left to give at that point.
I don't know that you've changed anything except to make it even more demanding this year.
Exactly my predicament. You're right. Not only did I not learn my lesson, I made it harder.
I don't think...
That I'll survive it? Am I going to come up with a new hawk design and then put it out on the internet for everybody to
See? Yeah. Am I then going to be copied by a bunch of people that hate my guts in the industry? Yeah, probably. Are they gonna claim that they came up with it, even though I did? Claim that I'm giving away trade secrets while also claiming that I don't know anything about crabbing? Yeah, absolutely. Am I gonna do it anyway? Yes, I will. Do I care? I'm pretty over that. Haters gonna hate. The old style Hawk, new design Hawk. I hope these work better, I really do. The old one, we have just the old zinc, and see we have to electrical tape them back on sometimes because they tend to rot away. But that's the weight. At the bottom, to keep the buoy from slipping, you just have these little steel hog rings, but those always rust away and then the buoys will slip. Usually before that though, they get run over, which is the main problem, and it'll get knocked off right there. This is floating away, and then this will be laying on the bottom, and I'll have to drag a hook around to be able to find this end of the Hawk. With the new Hawk design, I'm hoping that this rope that does two things. Goes all the way around it, and it also keeps the buoy from slipping up and down. So if you see, the rope goes in one side, down through the tube, out the bottom with the clip, and then up the outside, tied in a square knot, tied in a half hitch here. So that keeps the buoy from sliding up and down, and it won't rust out. But also, when somebody runs this over, inevitably, the rope won't break, and will keep the buoy and the clip in the same loop, I'm hoping. Keep it floating so I can hopefully find it. And also, the pipe is the new weight so that it won't rust out. It just can slide up and down on here. We will try it, report back, and we'll see how they work. All right, so this is one of the problems that has been looming over my head. This wheel bearing is totally roasted. This whole wheel is about to fall off. I have all the parts to replace it. I just need to go find a jack and all the tools. Tools are things that I'm always chasing around everywhere I am at all times, it seems like, because I'm so many different places. I need a jack, I need sockets, just a couple different flavors of hammer, and hopefully we can get this wrapped up. Cross this off the list. Sometimes you can just go scavenge the yard for tools and parts. Today is one of those days. Here's a floor jack. I know it doesn't look like it, but it's in there. I don't know if it works or not though. Oh, it looks like it actually works. All right, this is gonna be perfect. Oh, jeez, that thing's heavy. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. That literally just fell off. Oh my gosh, that is not good. Dang, I don't have any grease. Turns out that was a little closer to falling off than I even originally thought. That could have been bad. All right, just as I suspected, I got this to a point where I now do not have the tools that I need. They are all up the road, so I got to leave this where it is, I guess, and go up the road and pray I don't get distracted by another task so I can actually get this one done. Don't have a great track record. So this is my favorite truck. A couple reasons. A, super cheap. B, dumb reliable. C, it's kind of a piece of junk, so I really don't care about it. It's one less thing to worry about in my mind. That's why I really like crappy trucks. But the problem is, I parked it here a couple months ago after crabbing season. Now, the battery's dead, which I kind of suspected, but I also cannot get the hood open. I think the cable's broken or something. The thing that concerns me is that I have seen a couple squirrels hanging out around the bottom of here, and I've been unable to apprehend them. I need to get the hood open and then hopefully just replace the battery. This is one more thing that needs to get done before we can go crabbing. I mean, this thing's pretty mint. It's a little bit of a mess, but it's a nice truck. I really like it a lot, but for whatever reason, the hood popper ain't popping the hood. All right, we're gonna try to get into this thing the old-fashioned way. This is such a dumb problem to have. Like, how are you supposed to get the hood open if your cable snaps without them doing all the hardware to get it open? I don't see any squirrels yet. That's good news. Look, I'm a big advocate for not buying new batteries and just jumping the ones you have, but this battery was roasted when I got this truck a couple years ago. If you didn't drive it for like 2 weeks, it would be dead. I think it may be time just to replace the battery. Well, like a complete moron, I took the battery out and shut the hood after I lubed up all the cable and everything because I thought it was working properly, and now it won't open again. So I don't know what the heck they're doing with this piece of junk, or how the hell you're supposed to open the hood if your cable snaps, which it's not. I don't know why it's not working. It doesn't make any sense. Such a stupid problem to have. So stupid. I just had it open too. Idiot.
Here I am once again, another day trying to replace this stupid wheel bearing because I didn't have the right stuff. Well, that's probably one of my nicer hammers. And I did all that running around just to come back and find that the tube of grease that I was looking for was actually here the entire time. But I have another tube of grease. Pretty organized, if you haven't guessed. Probably one of the most organized people I've ever met. With that bearing, that thing is roasted. And this does not look like it's in good shape, but it's not gonna stop me from putting shiny new parts on rusty old pieces of crap that have no business getting new parts at all. The spindle and everything's fine, but all this brakes, we don't need that. The pads fell off. Brakes are for quitters anyway. Ooh, yummy. Marine grease. I guess grease is grease, right? So we're going to just pack these bearings, these wheel bearings with marine grease. Technically, it's covered in crab pots, so that's marine. So you're surprised how much grease this bearing is taking. If you don't know how to pack bearings with grease, you ought to learn how to do this. You just get a bunch of grease in your hand and you take the bearing and you see all those little barrels in there. You're just pushing it around and you're pushing the grease into all those things. And there's no real way to like tell, oh yeah, it's done, whatever. Just pack as much as you can in there and then call it good. If you have a Zerk fitting, you know, that's helpful, but nothing I own ever does. And make sure you put your bearings on the correct way or else they're really gonna be hard to get off. And this one, I think is the right size, but if I go to tap this on with a hammer, it's probably never coming off. I feel like it should go on there a little easier, but maybe it needs a little persuasion. Oh, yummy. Nice. Just wipe the grease on your brake pads. Okay, here we go. Got a hammer here. I'm not so sure this is the right bearing. Can't tell if it's going or not. Oh, beautiful. Look at that, like a glove. Are you sure? Hopefully this fits. Ow. Oh, wow, that is money right there. Look at that. Good as used. Freaking fantastic. Beautiful, impeccable work. Another bearing that I think... Oh, yeah. Oh, we're cooking. We are cooking with peanut oil right now. I think if we just tighten this down, it should probably, hopefully, put everything in place. Kind of a small hammer for this job. It might work. Ooh, that's a little painful. We need a different hammer. This should be the appropriate sized hammer for the job. That's not great. Bolts getting a little forced through. Yep, they are. Other than that, we're mint, and these are gonna get backed out anyways. This is another thing that I learned the hard way. If you are putting wheel bearings on, you don't wanna make them that tight. You wanna tighten them down and then back them off like a little bit of a turn, just because you'll put too much pressure on those little things and it'll catch on fire. Don't recommend doing that. It's a free country for now, so you do what you want. I ain't gonna tell you what to do. If you're like me, you gotta learn the lesson the hard way anyway. So don't let me tell you. Go figure it out. That's really some professional work right there. Putting the grease cap back on crooked. That didn't work at all. We may not even need this. I mean, we do, but if I can't get it on there, we may just roll without it. We'll be back. All right, it's on. Turns out you just have to beat the absolute brakes off it. Another key thing you're gonna wanna do is make sure you drop all the little bits in the sand so that nothing goes together correctly ever again. I guess that's how it goes. I don't know anything about these. Oh boy, there's which end goes where? Look at this one. Which end goes where? Okay. Would not have guessed that. Glad I looked into it. These look kind of sketchy. These different kinds of wheel, you know, for this big heavy trailer. I'm sure it has something to do with being like ridiculously heavy duty. But hey, I'm certainly not gonna go asking many questions. Let her roll. I feel like there's supposed to be some trick to doing this, and I don't know it. But I'm sure I'm gonna find out why I did something wrong here. Just imagining like hooking up to this thing and the wheel's like, you know, hopping or not centered or something. Nice. All right. Cross that. Cross that one. Fighting the pollen. The whole world's against me. Cross that one off the list. I'm actually kind of relieved to have that done because a lot of times it's like death by 1,000 paper clips. It's stress. Death by 1,000 paper clips. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's like stress by 1,000 paper cuts for me, where I know I have all these stupid little things to do that are just like kind of silly tasks, but they all still need to get done. So that is one that I've been putting off. On to the next 10 things that I've been putting off.